I'm Mike Sohigian. I was Jim's stepson. Early on the morning of February 9, 1971, an earthquake magnitude 6.9 shook Los Angeles, including the little house where my mother and I, Jim Bellows, were sleeping. I was 7 years old. And although I didn't realize that was a harbinger of the changes Jim would bring in our lives. We were hardly country bumpkins, but Jim was already a celebrated figure in journalism, and because of my mother and I gained access to a world of famous writers, artists, and performers we would never have known. Some of them out here today. Let me give you an example. While we sat with my mother in her home last week, a phone call came flooding in. My sister handed Mom the phone, and she said, "Hello, Norman." My wife turned to me and said, "My mother-in-law gets calls from Norman Lear and called him, 'Hello, Norman.'" Mom and I were very, very fortunate that Jim came into our lives, but that's not what this is. One summer after they were married and we moved into a house in Mandan Canyon, my cousin Chris Gorman came to visit. Chris was 17 years old. Jim at that time was driving a yellow GTO. Chris had to get his hands on the wheel. I can't remember whether it was before or after Chris jumped from the roof terrace over the second story into the swimming pool. One day, Jim left Chris on the drive back. Sometime after midnight, Chris got arrested for driving 110 miles an hour on the freeway with me in the back seat. Now, in return for a promise never to return to California, the judge dismissed the charges. He did. I remember one more thing about that trip. Chris made fun of Jim not to his face. He would say, "Mike, have you taken that track? Yeah. The dog, I hadn't really noticed Jim's speaking style, but I later learned it was notorious among those he worked with. The truth was, I never had any trouble understanding him, and I never really thought he was especially inarticulate. He was a bit of a man. He was an exceptional man. He wasn't prepossessing and was a little diffident, soft-spoken, but extremely charismatic. He led and inspired hundreds of people. He was almost universally loved. He genuinely liked people. And he expected the best from them. He communicated his respect and affection in a quiet, seemingly incoherent way, and so active of motivating them to do the best that they could do. The results were some of the finest writing and reporting in the history of America. How did this happen? How could a boy who was 5 feet tall when he graduated from high school, who schooled him into math, have become a man to whom whole staffs at newspapers, television programs, and networks, and new media companies looked up to, loved, and admired? Was there a transformation from the maggot to a man who wrote to excel by trusting them, encouraging them, and protecting them from irate publishers, maybe it was the years he spent flying during the war. He almost felt so glowing there. Time to dream and think in the clouds. Maybe as he bloomed late, reaching a height of a little over 5 feet 10 inches tall, by the way, not as some of the obituary writers suggested 5 feet 7. Maybe he didn't really stop to himself, by his dreams and developing courage to pursue them. Courage was all. Now, I'll never know. I knew Jim the man. And by the time I met him, he became who he was. One thing he was grateful. Jim was a keen and caring. That's not a living. You get along with him. I mean, Jim was a man who thrived in communion with others. He was a leader who helped and inspired them to do their best work. He needed others to do the work he was meant to do, whether it was editing a major metropolitan newspaper, putting out a television broadcast, making marks in new media, or editing the work of a single aspiring writer at some Valley Writers Conference, where the home where Jim had spent his last week to collect his personal effects from his room. On one of them was his road. The jumbo-sized relatives and all the phone numbers and addresses of probably thousands of people in his life. Now, by that time, Jim wasn't even able to use the telephone. But he wouldn't think of leaving a golden clock any more than he would a toothbrush. Jim was extremely fortunate to find a profession suited to his nature where he could do what he did best, and he accomplished so very, very much. And it's become clear in the years since Jim left, he was also fortunate that his career coincided with what looks like the golden age of journalism. Jim was very, very, very fortunate to have met my mother. In the years before they met, Jim had been through a lot of misfortune. He had left his wife and 3 daughters, an act that was virtually inconceivable for him, and what I believe caused him real pain for the rest of his life. But he had done it for love, and Maggie Savoy then became sick and died. In fact, when we met my mother, Maggie was dying in the hospital. Professionally, of course, Jim had gone to his death of the neurosurgery. A pain might be made greater by the joy and excitement that had filled his eyes and face. As Maggie lay dying, Jim suddenly fitted a Bellows coffin as an associate editor at the Los Angeles Times. He must have been near despair at that moment. With the woman who was to that point the love of his life lying near death in the hospital, and his tight career stalled with a challenge. Then came my mother, Maggie. There's nothing close to love at first sight. Maggie died on December 20, 1970 in SLP. And my mother recalls feeling chills as she read the obituary. February 9, 1971, Jim was visiting our house, jolted away by that earthquake. And on July 1st of that year, they were married on a rock off Malibu Beach. And Mom became the love of his life. Jim was almost 49 years old, and I think the second half of his life. In my mother, he got me an 8-year-old boy. He was living with his mother since my parents' early divorce. And about 15 months after their marriage, my sister Justine, I think my mother helped Jim reach out to his daughters. Amelia and Priscilla were actually after wedding. They remained close to Jim throughout. But now they were family, and we started to see more evolution. And about 4 years after they married, Jim left the Girl Times for the Washington Star. And the second act of his career began. It was wonderful fun for us all. And thanks to Justine, who nagged him for years to write a line of editor, much about those years was reported in posterity. Jim was my stepfather. I'm not reminiscences are not primarily professional, although someone who assumed I worked at Eaton often was, I had a lot of professional references too. I remember Jim as a father, as a man. His internal influence on my life may not be obvious. The same tactics that work with ambitious writers who really have been rebellious in the way we already had love. But over time, we grew to love each other, and I hope admire each other. At least, I hope Jim admired me in any way of the profession that I did him. I know he loved me. Should have had a long eulogy when he came into the drawing, I guess. I know he loved me, and I know how happy he was when I met and married my wife, Catherine, and I know how much he loved her. How much he loved my son, Adam. He never saw that without telling me how lucky we were to have such a happy and charming boy. I think he was right. You know, Jim's last years were some ways sad. His memories failed. So